Hi everyone, welcome to another week of the Sun Bookshop Recommends from the depths of lockdown. This week I'm going to recommend a thriller, surprise, surprise, and it is The Plot by Jean Hanff Korelitz. And it follows the story of a young author called Jake who is, he's teaching a creative writing course in Vermont at the Ripley Academy, and he had sort of middling success with his first novel. He was sort of one to watch, up and coming author. His second novel was sort of well received, but not really. And then his third and fourth novels have kind of gone nowhere. So he's sort of relegated himself to almost author purgatory and is teaching these creative writing courses to kind of keep himself involved in the literary world, but he hasn't really found that spark of inspiration himself. And he is teaching during one season, and he has kind of like mediocre students, and then there's one student appears who has this incredible story idea. The plot is amazing, and he kind of feels a bit like, oh, why does this guy have this amazing inspiration and I haven't been hit with that spark? And then the course concludes, and everyone gets on with their lives. And then several years later, at another writer's retreat, he kind of thinks, oh, I never really heard anything more about that author, and he looks him up and discovers that the young author has died. So he takes it upon himself to steal his plot idea, and he writes an amazing best-selling novel, and he becomes such a huge success. He's been on Oprah. Steven Spielberg is making an adaptation of the book, and it's all incredible. And he is on the sort of publicity trail, and he starts to receive these cryptic messages from someone called Talented Tom, who knows that he stole the plot idea. So he starts getting these quite sort of sinister cryptic messages, and he doesn't really know what to do, but he kind of ignores it, and he thinks, oh, it'll just go away. I've got all of this amazing success. And it starts getting more and more impossible for him to ignore. And throughout the entire story, you have these little snippets of the best-selling book that he wrote, which is called Crib. So you get sort of a couple of pages of this book throughout, and it's gripping. This book that he has written is gripping, and the plot is also fantastically gripping. And to the very end, I did not think it was going to go the way it did, and I loved it. It was such good page-turning psychological thriller. I highly recommend it for someone who just kind of wants to become completely engrossed in the lives of Jake, this author, but then also the characters that he has written about as well. It was a great read, particularly if you just need something that you can escape into at the moment. So that's The Plot by Jean Hanff Korelitz.
That sounds so good. And as a creative person who's really struggled to write through 2020 and 2021, I feel like I have to read it. And I love stories within stories as well. So yes, that sounds awesome.
Just don't steal anyone's story.
Yes, I know. I understand the temptation. So, sounds great. So my recommendation is also literary themed. It is The Traveling Bookshop by Katrina Nannested. And it's a wonderful novel for younger readers. It's full of whimsy and light, and it's a bit of travel escapism as well. So it's about Mim, who lives in a traveling caravan bookstore with her dad and her little brother Nat. And the bookstore takes them to where they need to be. It's a little bit magical, and then it lands in a town and opens its doors, and the customers come in and they all magically find the book that they need, which might not be the book that they want. So in this book, which is I think the first in a series, they go to a little town in Holland. So there's lots of windmills and delicious cheeses and stroopwafels, the lovely caramel waffles that they can eat. It's full of little details like that. And Mim and her little brother get to explore the town, and then they get to meet all of the townspeople as they come and explore the bookshop. And the description of the bookshop is wonderful as well, because they're in a caravan, but then the bookshop opens up through a basement, and somehow in this basement it's full of floor to ceiling huge bookshelves with rolling ladders and lots of armchairs and a fireplace. So it's got a little bit of that like TARDIS magic, that it's bigger inside than outside. So for anyone who's missing getting to come inside real life bookshops at the moment, it might scratch that itch. And anyone who's missing traveling as well, all the travel descriptions are wonderful. And Mim and her little brother, they meet a young girl called Wilhelmina, and she's struggling with being bullied. And so the main story is their friendship, how that grows, and how is the bookshop going to help Wilhelmina. But maybe it's not her that needs help. So you'll have to read to find out what happens. But it's really beautifully written. It's full of creative fun, lots of joy, and all about the magic of books. So of course I love it. Of course we love it here. So yes, that is The Travelling Bookshop by Katrina Nannested, and it would be good for the younger end of the middle grade. So maybe like 7-8-year-old readers who are good readers, up to like 9, 10, 11, 12. It's all for adults as well. I loved it too. So that's my recommendation. And that's all from us. So thanks for joining us for another week. Stay well, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Hi everybody, my name is Jacqueline Criffy, and I'm here to introduce my new book, Garden Like a Nonno, which is full of all the wit and wisdom about how to garden like my nonnos taught me. I make the joke that Nonno's garden is concrete out the front and veggies out the back, but it's hugely productive and they do it on the cheap. So there's lots of great recipes in here for how to make your own seed raising mix, your own pest controls, your own fertilizers. And I'm dropping off 10 packets of seeds from my garden to give away with the book. So that's all at the sun. And a couple of books I'd like to talk about is that I would recommend. It's The Good Life by Hannah Maloney. It's coming out next month, so you can pre-order it. And it's just full of radical hope in these times and really practical things you can do to make your life better for the environment and better for you. And then George Kosiadis from Gardening Australia has a gardening book coming out, and he is the gardening guru to me. And I think that's another one to look out for. It's called Costa's World.